Well, the UN has warned that Gaza's 2.3 million people are running critically short of food and water, and that dehydration and malnutrition are increasing. Where bakeries are still running, people are being forced to wait for hours for bread. More than half the population has been internally displaced. Well, for more on the ever worsening humanitarian situation, let's speak now with Reem Nada, spokesperson for the UN World Food Programme. Thank you so much for being with us here on the programme this morning. Firstly, Reem, your teams have been carrying out on-ground assessments in Gaza. What are the logistical challenges just in terms of providing aid that is now needed by the entire population?
Thank you for having me. We have massive challenges that are facing us in Gaza to be able to deliver life-saving food to people who need it. And we're talking about more than half of Gaza's population who are now actually displaced and are in desperate need of assistance. However, assistance that has gone through the border crossing from Egypt into Gaza have now reached around 1,200 trucks. 1,200 trucks is less than 3 days of what Gaza would normally receive prior to this crisis, because on a daily basis, Gaza received 500 trucks. So that's one side of the story. So far, only 1,200 have reached, and in more than 6 weeks. And this means that food inside Gaza is not enough. Commercial food supplies have run out. What is in the shops now are only foods that need either cooking gas or fuel. They need water, clean water. 70% of Gaza is now 70% of people in Gaza are now using water that is not fit for consumption because of lack of fuel. Water salination plants are not working. Wastewater is not being treated. The streets are overflowing with sewage water. And also, lack of fuel means that trucks that are needed to deliver food assistance are unable to move or can barely move around Gaza because there's simply not enough fuel. In the beginning of the crisis, the World Food Programme was able to provide fresh bread every day in shelters for 200,000 people. Now we cannot do that anymore because on the 10th of November, almost 9 days ago, the last bakery we were working with out of 23 bakeries have shut down because of lack of fuel. So this is a dire situation for people. So people who are living in shelters, we see dehydration, malnutrition. Children are living off of food that is not at all healthy for a human being to be consuming for such long periods, let alone water.
Now, you also warned this week, the World Food Programme, that with winter approaching, civilians are facing the immediate possibility of starvation. What kind of challenges will the coming months bring for people in Gaza?
Well, I don't see that the challenges we are facing now are easy. These are huge challenges. This is a humanitarian crisis on a scale that maybe we have not witnessed before. And challenges in the coming months are only to be imagined, because as winter approaches, we know that roads are damaged, so even movements inside Gaza are very difficult. So the humanitarian situation of people in shelters, these are overcrowded shelters. Diseases are starting to come up that have to do with the hygiene, sanitation, because 1.5 million people have been displaced. So those who are living in the UN shelters are living in really very, very difficult conditions. And you can only imagine how this can get worse with winter, with the rain, with illnesses that come with that as well, let alone illnesses that are coming because of the situation we're seeing now.
And Reem, you're also pointing out that it's not really possible to meet the needs of civilians with just one operational border into Gaza. What hope is there that another may be opened?
Well, the biggest problem now is not that one border crossing is open. The biggest problem now is that fuel inside Gaza, even with the assistance that have entered into Gaza, we are unable to move. We have limited ability, let's say. We have very limited ability to be able to move food assistance inside Gaza. Over the past 3 days, limited food quantities have entered into the strip, but this does not mean that this challenging fuel situation is over, because as I mentioned, bakeries need fuel, whether bakeries where people are buying bread, or bakeries that WFP use, the World Food Program use, to be able to provide bread in shelters every day. We cannot do that any longer. And what people are receiving are canned food, non-perishable food, because there's no electricity to keep food anywhere, and there's no cooking gas. So basically they need food that can be consumed without any preparation, and this is not something that people can live off for a very long time.
Reem, thank you so much for your time on the programme. That's Reem Nada, spokesperson with the UN World Food Programme.